Ladies and gentlemen, episode number 12 of Light into the Void. And today I'm going to teach you how to balance a video game. And really, it's very simple. And I don't feel like I need to explain this because we've talked about it so much. But really, let me back up. So what's driving me bananas, Light into the Void, episode number 12, I'm your host, Shadow and Light, is this balance discussion that keeps happening. And in EVE, we play a game of whack-a-mole. One thing becomes too strong. I remember back in the day, armor hacks were too strong. Zealot fleets used to be very popular. We had sniping sniping battleship fleets. The ship composition. I hate to use the word meta because meta is so wrong in this context. It's not the meta. Meta is the outside influence. The ship comps change. Ship composition, fleet comps change as CCP balances stuff or attempts to balance stuff. And the reason why balancing is so hard in EVE Online is because there is no limit on how many people you can bring to a fight. And we've just finally started to see a glimmering hope that CCP is realizing this and maybe has some ideas to fix it. They've probably known it for a long time. I know they've known it for a long time. But it's a catch-22. Part of the EVE's popularity has been massive fights, but then the servers can't support massive fights of 4,000 people without putting you in 10% tie-dye or less, which is horrible. And for those of you new to EVE, tie-dye is called time dilation. And what it literally does is slow down the speed of the entire engagement of the fight so that the server can keep up with requests. This is, don't get me wrong, light years better than what it used to be, because before time dilation was introduced by CCP Grayscale and his team a few years ago, well, what happened is, and it still happens right now with nodes that aren't really reinforced, if CCP doesn't know about it ahead of time, this could still happen, but it's greatly diminished, is basically whoever lands on grid first or gets in system first gets priority to the server. They're first in line for queue requests. And the people who come in second aren't given the same level of attention by the server because the server's out of resources. It can only process so many commands, just like your computer. It can only run so many things at once, right? So what used to happen before all this was, and this kind of still happens like I mentioned, it happened at Head GP last year, Halloween War-ish, 2 years ago by now, year and a half. So what happened was, what happened was that a side would jump in, get superiority of server requests, and probably tactical positioning as well. The side coming in to fight them would just get black screens. When they jump through a gate or Sino through a Titan, they would just be black screen. Or if they jump their capitals, they would get no response from the server. They would appear on grid. This is the crazy part. Now, this is something I think could be fixed. Or maybe this was a solution back in the day, but unless your client is responding, I'm not sure why the server loads you. Now, maybe this is a technical issue, but I never, as I think about it more in depth, I don't really understand why, if your screen is black and you're not sending anything to the server that looks like a normal game experience, why does the server still load your ship on the others on the screen for the other players? That's a good question. CCP, if you're ever listening to this, I love an answer. Maybe I'll have to reach out to some smarter people and ask them why that happens. Anyways, so tie-dye fixed a lot, has made it better, but still, BTAC-R was a 24-hour engagement. Literally, I think it was 26 hours. I was up for every single one of those hours. It was fucking horrible. That fight should have been over in an hour, not 26. And the reason, because tie-dye. Now, like I said, tie-dye is better than what it used to be. So you take what you can get. But balancing is always a problem because somebody can always bring more ships. So how do you balance a ship to make it effective in situation A, small gang combat, mission running, PvE, but also it isn't so over or underpowered that it becomes unbalanced when you have 5,000 of them, or let's use a realistic number, 500 of them, okay? And that's very tough. And I would say it is almost impossible. So, what can we do? My first topic was, my first thought has always been stacking penalties. And we talked about this on the Open Com show the other day. I've talked about it forever. stacking penalties. Remote reps, as an example, get stacking penalties on the target they're used. And CCP Larrikin, when I asked about Set the Roundtable, said this is not doable in his initial response because I'm sure this needs more thought process behind it. But he said, well, what if you're using large capital reps to save a Titan, okay? And now you have the stacking penalty in place. But the other side says, oh, we're going to game the system and use medium reps that do basically nothing for an HP of a Titan to fill up the stacking penalty that your capital reps were coming in to save the Titan with, right? Do you get what I'm saying? They use a really crappy rep, a small or a medium remote rep, so that your large or capital reps don't work, because let's say the stacking penalty is 20. So they'll put 20 small reps on the Titan they're trying to kill to prevent your 20 extra large reps from working. Now, this is all theoretical. Well, I use 20 as an example. Let's say 20 is the theoretical number where anything above 20 starts seeing significant declines in effectiveness to the point where 25 or 30 is completely useless, right? And then I didn't really get a chance to have a dialogue with him. It was just my question, his answer. Here's the dialogue on my response. You're really telling me the server can't tell the difference between a small capital rep and an extra large capital rep? I don't believe that. Now, maybe it can't. Maybe the server is dumb, or maybe in this instance it doesn't put any type of flag through the system so it knows that this is an extra large capital rep and this is a small capital rep, or a small rep and this is an extra large capital rep remote. Maybe it doesn't know, but I have a hard time believing that's not possible. So that's my response to CCP Larrikin. I think you can still do stacking penalties, and I think if you did stacking penalties, it would help solve these balancing issues in large fleets. Because we also have stacking penalties, a hard wall stacking penalty with citadels, right? The new structure for citadels has a hard penalty or a hard line that says anything for a medium, I believe, is over 4,000, and I need to find this all. Okay, good news. I am not having early onset dementia. It is 4,000 DPS is the damage mitigation, what they're using for a medium citadel. So this is exactly what I'm referring to when it comes to stacking penalties. I think this is a super good move by CCP, and I think this would translate across the board and be a method to balance everything else. Now, Jeff Rader just did a podcast with CCP Larrikin and CCP Fozzie that I am going to link, where Larrikin said that they can't yet apply, maybe it was Fozzie, I'm sorry, CCP Fozzie said, they can't apply the same damage mitigation concept on a Citadel to everybody in the system. For example, damage mitigation on a Citadel is 4,000 DPS for a medium. Apparently the calculations needed to do that across a whole fleet is too much. So, CCP, how about this instead? What if it's too much math, I guess, it's too complex. That's the response. They would know better than me because I'm not running the server database or know anything about it other than what I've been told through the media. Why not have a limited amount of targets that one target can be locked? You already have this with the Target Spectrum Breaker. Target Spectrum Breaker is a module for battleships. The TSB, when turned on, prevents, by my testing, anything above 10 targets from locking it, okay? Maybe not 10, maybe 10 or 12. Anyways, past 10 or 12, the numbers start dropping off significantly. It starts becoming a lot harder to target that thing, right? And it's friend or foe, it doesn't matter. It doesn't know the difference between a friendly pilot or a hostile pilot. It just starts dropping locks. So after 10, the 11th person has trouble. The 12th person may not lock at all. It's how I've watched it work. So why can't you put that on hulls? Why can't that be an automatic racial thing? Is that also the same problem where if you were to make this a system-wide feature on all ships, where the bigger the ship, the more people that can target it, but after a while it doesn't work? I guess, is that also gameable? I guess. I mean, if you're trying to save a Titan, you bring in a bunch of ships and have a bunch of ships target the Titan, I guess. I guess we need some more in depth. If we can't put the same damage mitigation in we have for Citadels across all ships, we need to look at a TSB type addition to all hulls. I would have just top of my head say the bigger the ship, the more ships that can target it would be my response. This would actually have to be fleshed out more. Okay. The third topic is just limit the freaking amount of people in the system, or make fleets smaller. Make fleets absolutely necessary, but make them smaller. Figure out a way to limit the sandbox. And I know EVE does not want to do that. I know the EVE players don't like that at all. I'm saying something that's highly unpopular. People want the 1,000 versus 1,000 fights. I want the 1,000 versus 1,000 fights. I don't wake up and get out of bed for small gang PvP. I never did. It meant nothing to me. I hate to say that because it's a popular part of the game. But honestly, if I'm being real with you, I hate small gang PvP. It sucks. I hate roaming. I fucking hate roaming. You know, I am not jumping 50 jumps to find someone to shoot. This is another reason why I want arena PvP, because I just want to log into the game and get a guaranteed fight. And I know that's in EVE that's unrealistic. Right now, it's unrealistic. Red versus Blue was kind of like that. If they put it in a tournament system, a 5v5 instant combat arena type, Dawn of the Ancients, League of Legends type, etc., etc., etc. It's possible. I think it's doable to have that. I think that would be a big, big benefit for the game, and I've talked about this before, and I'll probably do a separate podcast on it. But right now, I think the topic needs to be figure out stacking penalties for maybe stacking penalties for everything. Maybe for weapons too. Maybe this is the solution. The more people that shoot a target, the less damage. It's kind of like damage mitigation if the servers can handle it. If that doesn't work, come up with damage mitigation. If stacking penalties doesn't fix things like logistics or things like even damage application, okay, then can we do mitigation as well? Can we do a hard wall like we have with Citadel where 4,000 is it? And, 4,000 damage is it, and everything else doesn't matter? And if we can't do all those, or maybe in conjunction with, we also come up with a way to just limit fleet sizes. So you can't put 1,000 people in a system. It doesn't have anything to do for you. I'm not sure. That gets really tricky, and I hate to say I don't have a good solution on how I would limit people, but it needs to be talked about. So that's it. If you guys like these podcasts, these mini-casts, subscribe, like wherever you're at, favorite, SoundCloud, YouTube, EOC TV. Where else am I? Be a Reddit post. There'll be a blog post. I mean, I put this crap out everywhere because I use if this then that, and it does it all for me because I'm lazy. So all I do is upload this to YouTube, and then that does everything else for me. So any questions, comments, send them to me. I will read them, I promise. And any show ideas, I have 15 more in my head right now, but please send them to me. I try to do a show every other day just to kind of keep my brain involved in some of the topics up there. And peace.